Welcome to Rebirth Podcast. This is episode 313. Tonight, we're going to be talking to some beautiful ladies who happen to be mental health therapists on this episode of Ask the Therapist. But before we get started, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to tonight's podcast.
Out of the ashes we will soar to a destiny we can't ignore. Heartbeats echo through the night with every dream and endless flight. Together strong, let's break the mold. Our rebirth and stories told. It's time to renew, rebuild, restore. Unlock the dreams we've been waiting for. Rise up higher, more and more. With every breath, a new dawn's roar.
Happy Monday. Welcome to Rebirth Podcast. I'm your host, Shay.
And I am your other co-host, Corey.
Are we going to leave the AKA out?
Oh, I didn't know I was doing that in season 5.
Oh, yeah.
AKA the
okay.
thinker. All right.
You always the thinker.
All right.
What's up? Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. I really appreciate it. You could be anywhere else, but you chose to spend the night with us. So we really do appreciate
Spend the night.
Spend the night. Spend the night, because that's what it's going to feel like after this conversation is over with. Yes.
All right.
It's going to feel like a night.
I'm prepared.
Before we get started, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to tonight's video. And also, you might want to send this to somebody that, they may need a little help, because we got Ask the Therapist Roundtable.
It's going to be good.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
I'm going to ask some questions, though.
I bet you are.
Yeah.
But I've already prepared my sisters.
You did?
Yeah.
That's not fair.
Yeah, because,
that's not
I
fair.
can't let you do them like that.
I'm scared. You should prepare me. I got 3 women? No.
That's right.
I'm in trouble.
So how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Loving this weather?
Absolutely.
October is here.
Absolutely. Well, it's coming.
I mean, it's here.
Yeah.
You wake up in the morning, go outside.
That's right.
Be cold.
It is.
But no, I'm good. I'm good for the weather change.
Mm-hmm.
And we are headed into the Rebirth Live in a couple weeks.
We are headed into the Rebirth Meetup.
Live meetup. We will be live. But to my credit, usually.
I get it.
You're right. The Rebirth Meetup.
Yes. We're excited about that too. So if you have not purchased your tickets yet, make sure you go to rebirthu.com and get your tickets today, because there is going to be limited. Because this is an intimate. It's not like the Rebirth Live where hundreds of people come out. The Rebirth Meetup is very intimate. So we're not allowing no more than 50 people. So if you haven't purchased your ticket, I would suggest that you go over to rebirthu.com and get your ticket. It's a great place to meet new people. We're going to be networking with like-minded professionals, and we have DJ Just Twan.
Yeah. We got another Corey coming, because one wasn't enough.
You know what?
It wasn't. Need more Corys in y'all life.
Corey Dane is going to be doing a live performance. He was on our show a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
An amazing young man. So if you like hip hop and you like artists like Nas and who else does he remind me of? Oh gosh, what's the group?
Tribe Called Quest.
Like if you like those type of artists, you definitely would like Corey Dane. But I guess we need to talk about some more up-to-date artists, because that's from my time.
I mean, my time too.
Who does he remind you of, like today's artists? Nobody?
I don't know.
Would you consider him to be like a conscious rapper, or?
Yeah, but he's like conscious R&B, a little bit of rap. So R&B. It's kind of like it's not quite like neo soul. I wouldn't take him there, but it's definitely like it's a vibe. It's a vibe. It's definitely
and he has
a vibe.
Message. He ain't just talking to be talking stuff. He definitely has a message.
Yeah, it's definitely a message to it. It's good. It's good music though.
Yeah. So speaking of hip hop, guys, we got the Hip Hop Summit coming up on October 18th. I don't know if you guys know about this. This is their 3rd year. So October 18th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Delaware Art Museum in Wilmington, Delaware. Special guest, DMC.
DMC
is going to be in the building, right? He's the founder member of Run DMC, the legendary Run DMC. And of course, Rebirth will be in the building.
Yes, we will.
Yes, we will be there representing and with hopes of being able to interview Mr. DMC and really get some his perspective on hip hop today.
I heard you was rapping though.
You heard I was.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
You want a sample?
Nah.
Oh, okay.
We'll save it. We'll save it. We're not gonna.
I'm not liking you today.
Why?
I hope these ladies let go on you tonight.
Listen.
Seriously.
Listen.
I hope they come strong.
Listen.
Because you acting
Linda.
up.
I'm just here to learn
Anyway.
and share my thoughts.
Anyway.
I just asked what you. I heard you were gonna rap.
Can we put DMC back up, please?
Yeah, put him back up for Shay start rapping.
Yes.
Okay.
So you can register. The tickets are only $10.
Yeah, that's no.
The tickets are only $10, guys. So go to allhiphop.com/summit. Did I say .com?
At the end of the day, you mad at me. I don't know what website you want these people to go to. Huh? No, it wasn't.
I totally messed that up.
You did, but you're good.
Allhiphop.com
Yes.
/summit
.com.
for more details.
.com. I'm like, whoa.
All right, let's get into tonight's show.
Okay.
I can't with you.
Okay.
All right. So tonight, guys, we have a round table. Excuse me, I don't know what's going on with my mic. We have a round table of amazing therapists, two amazing therapists here in the lovely state of Delaware that's going to be representing for the mental health therapists. And they're just going to be giving their perspective of some topics,
Cool.
you know. And I know you got a lot to ask, Corey. So, yeah.
You think I need therapy or something? Shay?
Um,
That's crazy. Okay.
Anyway.
All right.
Don't we all?
I mean,
Don't we all?
I love how you
therapy?
cleaned that up.
Okay. All right. So without further ado, let's bring him on. Welcome to the stage. Welcome to the Rebirth, therapist Melita Grimes and Ebony Madre. Did I say that right, Ebony?
Yes, you did.
Hello.
Hello, ladies. How are you?
Hi.
Hello.
Doing great. Doing great.
Pretty good.
I'm good. Ahead of time on behalf of Corey. Because I have no idea what's gonna come out of his mouth tonight.
Nothing crazy.
But it's all good. So I would like for you ladies to take a little bit of time and introduce yourselves, and we'll start with you, Melita.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Melita Grimes. I'm originally from Virginia. I have lived in Delaware since right before the pandemic. I received my LCSW in May of 2022. And I have been practicing as a therapist ever since then. And yeah, that's pretty much all it is.
Awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Okay, next up, Miss Ebony.
Hello. So I am Ebony Madre. I am a licensed counselor here in Delaware, born and raised. I've been doing therapy for over 20 years, so that kind of tells my age a little bit. But I'm really
well, you look good, girl.
Thank you. And so I founded Patchwork Human Services during the pandemic. Actually, it was a task that I had been feeling that I should kind of move on many moons ago, but it wasn't until the pandemic that I actually launched. And so I recently celebrated, actually last weekend, I've been in business for 5 years, solely operating under my own brand. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Congratulations.
Thank
Absolutely. So you guys, you both mentioned the pandemic. As a therapist, I know that was a busy season for us. It was such a busy season for us. And I felt like during that time, when it came down to the workers, of course, they definitely needed that acknowledgement. The doctors, the nurses, they were in the fields. But I think we got left out on that. As therapists, we didn't get too much acknowledgement when it came down to the work and then the load that was placed on us as therapists during the pandemic. I know my caseload had went up, and I know every therapist that I'm friends with, they also had a lot of, new people coming in. So how did you guys maintain your own mental health during that time?
So I can go first. I actually had a therapist.
That's good. That's good.
Yes, I definitely had a therapist. I did a lot of outside kind of like walks and kind of like, heavily into my church at the time. I still am, but
I was going to ask you that. You said at the time.
yeah, no. I know, I'll clean that up real quick. But it just it really did. It helped. It really helped. And just self-care, spending time with family,
Yeah. What about you, Ebony?
The same, spending time with family. I think just being hyper aware of what I was feeling internally and making sure that my kids were grounded, making sure that they had outlets. My cousins and I, we started doing like cousins and crabs. Like, so it was like 4 of us and just our households would get together and do things. That way we were still able to like connect face to face with people. Like venting and processing things with my group of therapy friends as well, but just really being intentional about where I was internally. I baked a ton during the pandemic. Baking is very therapeutic for me. And so, yeah, it was lucrative. Yeah, but it worked. It just worked out. And so baking also afforded me the opportunity to like ship things. And I think I may have shipped cookies as far as Switzerland during the pandemic. So it was.
Are you serious? Ebony, you baking like that?
Wow.
Listen, I mean, it kind of just fell in my lap, right? Because like I said, that's my therapy. And y'all know how it is. We talk all day. And so initially baking for me was something that I could do without talking. I would just come home from a long day and like rip the kitchen apart, and then people started requesting things. And so, yeah, that's how I got into it. But it really took off during the pandemic too.
Nice. Awesome. I love that. We're so talented in so many levels. So that's good. Thank you for sharing that. So ladies, we're going to start our conversation off. Tonight's segment is called Ask the Therapist. We're going to start our conversation off tonight by watching this clip that our dear brother Corey found and wanted to bring to our conversation tonight. So we're going to show the clip, and then we would like to get your opinion about what is being said on the clip. All right? All right, here we go.
Jay, there aren't a lot of men who are as honest as you are and honest as I am. And what I'm discovering, man, and this is not to take the conversation left, but
take it left, brother.
We're dealing with a generation of women who are not ready for the men who they told to go heal. Right? You told me to go heal. You told me to go get therapy. And now I'm back and you're not ready to be accountable. That's a problem. You told me to heal. You said, Negro, you need therapy. You need to go get a mentor. You need to be around some brothers. I did all of that. And now you're not able to hold yourself accountable. Now we have a problem because now I've got to drag you when you once dragged me.
Where do we go from here, Dave?
Home. The hell out of here. That's where we go. That's where we go. We got to go home because, and what I mean by that is, as men now, it's okay for us to say, you're not for me. There was a time when we couldn't say that because we were trying to appease you.
Yeah, a lot of.
Now you're not for me, sis. I've done the work. That's the other conversation, though.
Bro, you can keep digging in that, man, because you're bringing so much clarity, man, because I've heard women so much, he needs to do this, he needs to do that, and I'm seeing brothers now choosing themselves.
Yes, sir.
Yes. And brothers alike, and they're choosing themselves over the physicality. Yes, they're choosing themselves over a moment of pleasure. Brothers are choosing peace.
Yeah.
Brothers are like, man, I'll sit at home watching Netflix by myself because it brings a sense of peace. Because what I think is happening, men are learning that they are deserving of a quality of life that they never told that they could have, because we often heard that happy wife, happy life.
Yes, sir. That's a lie. Yeah, that's a lie. Yeah, that's a lie. And so now I'm finding out I have a right to feel too. when you started feeling, Jay, that changed things. When I can feel, now I can connect to my environment. Now I don't like the way that makes me feel.
Okay. So, let's hear from you first about this clip.
Yeah.
And
So
then we're gonna go to the ladies.
yeah. So the clip spoke to me like personally.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we've known each other for a few years, right? So like,
Mm-hmm.
I will always carry a passion for men that don't feel like they can be open and share, right? Because there's this, whether you're looking in the comments, whether you're in your family, whether you are, it's our sons, it covers the gambit of men from age group to generation to whatever, that I don't know if we are always felt safe to be completely honest about how we feel, right? Because our brains go to so many different things, and sometimes we usually just drop back to say, all right, so how can we just respond in action? Like, a lot of us feel like, you know, we're only cared for, not necessarily cared for, our value is in what we do and what we can provide, right? So sometimes that silences the needs that we have outside of what we're providing, because sometimes we just want to put that down, right? So I've always had the passion to hear what men really feel and just dig into that, right? So when I heard this clip, I was just like, wow. And I said this like 2 years ago, there's going to be a point where men start to say, you know what, I'm good. And they start to choose themselves in a sense of saying, like, either A, I've done the work, or I choose not to initiate or be a part of.
Yeah.
I'm just going to sit out.
Yeah.
Right. I want to go to dinner by myself. I want to go and choose to go on vacation by myself. Right. And it doesn't mean that we don't get lonely. It doesn't mean we don't want companionship. We just choose to silence the noise that comes with having to be a man sometimes, because no doubt that, you know, women get tired of carrying us. So you get tired of having to be strong.
Yeah.
So do we.
Yeah.
So do we. Right. So I think that clip spoke to me, especially when he said, like, what do you do? Right. Because you could see when he gasped and was just like,
yeah,
brother, I don't even know what to say to that. Right. And he said, well, what do you do? Home. He said, we going home. And go home means we just gonna go sit down. Right. And see what happens and see who shows up and what shows up to the conversation. So I'm just curious that when women hear that, you all as therapists hear that, I'm sure that shows up in your office at some point, right? What do you hear when you heard what he said? What comes to mind when you heard what he said?
Yeah. So I would like for the ladies to talk about what their perspective was and what they heard. But what I will say is, for me, I've always advocated for, whether it's a man or woman, to date themselves, to spend time with themselves, to take themselves on a date. I think that is so important,
for sure.
Right? Because it's so important to understand how we receive love, how we need to be loved, right? Because a lot of people have settled for so many toxic relationships because they don't know what it feels like to be loved properly.
For sure.
And in order to know what it feels like to be loved properly, you have to first love yourself.
Yeah.
Right? So I can't tell you how to love me if I'm not loving me. Right? So whether it's man or woman, I'm big with dating yourself. Spend time with yourself, you know, especially if you're just getting out of a relationship. So let's take it to the ladies. Ebony, we'll start with you.
So I guess when he first started, it kind of threw me off a little bit when he said that women aren't ready to date a healed man, or, you know, to be with healed men. I think that a lot of times when one party is doing the work and the other party is not, you know, they tend to forget. And so he kept saying, you know, there was no accountability. But what really stood out to me was, is it that there was no accountability, or is it just that the trust needs to be rebuilt? Right? Because I think that a lot of times, well, what I see a lot of times is when men do the work or when men come forth about a thing, right? They expect a woman to just move on. It's like, because I've done the work, so you should be okay with that. You told me to go to therapy. I went to therapy and now I'm here. Like, all the other stuff doesn't matter. But if there was never a conversation or any closure about those other things, it's like, how can we move past that? Right. I don't think that anybody should have to constantly be chastised for any mistakes or any discord in any relationship. But I do think it's important to, put periods on some of those issues that have come up. And so, yeah, and I do appreciate what he said about being okay as a man to outgrow people and to be able to vocalize, like, listen, this isn't for me anymore. And so, like Corey said, he's always curious about what men think as far as being able to express themselves. One of the things that I'm very, very passionate about is social emotional learning for middle schoolers. And so I work with middle school boys so that they can get that skill set early, because if they can master it in middle school, like, that's something they'll carry with them throughout life, because I do think it's important for men to be able to tap in and to tune into what they're feeling.
Yes, I agree. Thank you. Melita.
Yeah, I have to agree with Ebony. When he first started, I was like, whoa, where is he going? I was like, hold up. But then as he continued, I was like, I started thinking, well, who was he before, and who was he with before? Because, we're all in the business of people changing and healing and, tapping into your true self and understanding who you are. And, I respect anyone who goes to therapy and takes that journey, because it's not easy as everyone thinks, right? And then you step outside and you might be renewed and look at your relationship that you're in thinking, this person was okay for me before when I was worried with my trauma and trying to heal. But now that I am healed, I'm starting to see inconsistencies. I'm starting to see where maybe we're not aligned or we're not equally yoked. And so I think that that's kind of where my mind went, where it's like, I think it's great for anyone, man or woman, as we were saying, to heal. And then once you're outside and you're looking in and you're looking at the relationship, they give it a chance, right? But understand that you took the time to heal and now you might have outgrown, as Ebony was saying. So yeah. And then when, talking about kind of stepping outside, what do you say? Go home, be by yourself. What does that look like? Because if you're not letting somebody in, I'm all about not forfeiting my peace. But I think it's important to understand that at some point the healed version of you deserves someone as well. So do you want alone because you did the journey to learn yourself, so now what do you do with it? And I don't think being isolated is always the key. There's nothing wrong. I spend time by myself all the time, but
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So did you have any specific questions for the ladies?
Yeah.
Oh, I digress.
So let me ask this question too. Like, would you all agree, or do you understand, or do you see, whether it's in your offices or just social media or just out in the world, that there's a consistent feeling from men of feeling undervalued? Because sometimes, and I say that because I think sometimes that's ignored, not in this conversation, but like, I think there is always a constant hum of men feeling like we're just tired, or we want to be acknowledged, or we want to be appreciated a little bit more, or we want to be understood, right? And I think that then it turns into, now it's men versus women, right? Because we're all fighting to be heard and understood. It's really not we're trying to fight each other. I think we want to be validated, we want to be understood, and we want to be made to feel like we're important or loved on, right? So I think, do you all see that there's a consistent feeling, and not always, but there's a consistent feeling of men feeling undervalued, regardless of relationship? It could be in your family, right? It could be in your relationship, it could be on your job, right? But there's a consistent feeling, and whether it's black men, I think there's a thing to say to that. But I also recognize that this is across the board that men feel like.
So I guess my question to that is, why do, and I'm saying y'all,
Yeah.
okay, why do y'all feel undervalued? Because that can't be put on the woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is causing you to feel undervalued, right? Because I think too, it depends on what the man is leading with. Like, if you're meeting someone, let's keep it real. A lot of times men tend to lead with what they have, what they can give you, or whatever the case may be. And that's what women tend to bite on, right? So I think it has to do with what is that man leading with, and what is causing him to feel undervalued, right? Because that your value comes from within how you see yourself.
True.
Right.
But that's valid. But when it's the woman saying, I don't want to be strong, I want to be da 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 da, or I want you to feel this, I want you to understand me. Cool. I can consistently say that I do see women that's always having to show up. Always, right? Whether you have to be the mom all the time, you have to be the decision maker like all the time, or there's just there's where women have to be all the time, right? They just can't sit down their crown and just go relax. I see that across the board.
Yeah.
Right. I see women always having to fight to be seen or protected or a voice. I acknowledge that. I see it. I don't need it to be like.
So you're saying we don't see that in men?
That's the question.
Okay.
Right. So like, not that you don't see it. I want folks to acknowledge that it's a thing. I think that we acknowledge that there is always a fight for a woman to have to be acknowledged, loved on correctly, protected, whether it's our daughters, our mothers, our wives, our girlfriends, whatever that is. We see it. We can't ignore it. We can act like we don't see it, but as a man, especially if you're vigilant and you're paying attention, you see it. I feel like when those questions come up on the other side, there's a challenge to say, well, not to say this is what you were doing. Well, it's in you. You don't understand how you lead, and you don't show up, and it has to be this. Then now we come to the defense of saying, all right, now I got to fight this uphill battle to even be acknowledged that there's a sea of women. A sea of men or whoever. There's a constant hum of they're struggling, right? But you may not only see it until we act out.
Okay, ladies, what are you thinking about with what Corey is saying? Ebony, you smiling, so we can start with you.
No, I'm smiling because I understood what he was saying the first time he said it, right? And so what I was going to say is that a lot of times, even when you think about like partnering up, right? And so sometimes when it's that feeling of being undervalued, it's like really consider who you're seeking the validation from, right? They might not necessarily be on your level. And so you're trying to convince a person of a thing, but they can't see it because they can't even receive what you're saying. And so I think that's the biggest thing too. And a lot of times people don't, or they kind of fall into relationships, if that makes sense, right? Versus like taking the time to get to know and understand people, taking the time to do your own healing. Because if I don't value myself, it's going to be easy for me to put you down. Exactly. But if I have a certain esteem and I've done all this healing work, I can hold space for my man. You know what I mean? I can say, baby, I get it, baby, I see it, And so I think it's kind of considering when you're even asking the men who complain about feeling undervalued, like what type of relationship or situation are they in? And at what point did it switch? And I think that's part of the conversation. And when we think about effective communication, that's how we get to the root of those feelings of not feeling valued by the person that we're attached to. So that's what I was going to say, Corey.
Cool.
It's good. Melita.
So it's interesting because when you were talking, I was thinking about a time where I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and we were, just sitting around. Her children were running around, and she said it's the man's job to protect, the wife, and it's the
Mhm.
wife's job to protect the children. And I was like in my 20s at the time. So I'm just listening to her, like, that's interesting. And in that moment, the kids were like, Mom, 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 while we're talking.
Mhm.
And he runs over and he gets the kids. And she said, see, he knew that in that moment, I needed protecting. I needed to be, shielded because we're trying to have a conversation. So he took the children away for my peace. But then it, raised the question, well, who protects him?
Mhm.
Right? If he's out here protecting you, you're protecting the children, then he's kind of left out there vulnerable, And so it was something because she sat for a moment because she didn't really have an answer.
Yeah.
I think it's just a natural instinct for the
Yeah.
man to be protective and the mom to be protective, but it's a conscious effort to protect and to value your man.
Yeah.
It's a conscious decision that you make on a daily basis to show up and make sure that he is feeling. And I think sometimes when you get caught up with life and you get caught up with, everything that goes along with that, sometimes that consciousness kind of goes away and you're not, always doing it. And so, yes, I think in most cases, unfortunately, the man is kind of left out there and not as valued, but I don't think it's intentional always.
Mhm.
There are moments,
Yeah.
people, but I don't think it's always intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I wanted to add too, like, while we're saying we can step in and protect in a certain way, right? I think for men, they have to be able to allow themselves to be vulnerable enough for
Mhm.
women to kind of tap in, because what we're seeing, and it's trending, right, is like this masculine energy of women, when it's like, actually, I believe it's a little feminine to want to say, I want to, do X, Y, and Z for my partner, and it's not that we're trying to do this role reversal. And so I think too, that's where like the healing and the maturity, or even just mindset, right? Because we have been cultivated to think that men have to protect in all realms, all aspects, but there are certain things that women can step in and do as well to show that protective stance for the person that they're with without trying to step into the role of being the man.
Gotcha. Right. I do have a follow-up question, but it's like curiosity, right? So I think it was you, Ebony, that talked about starting in middle school, right?
Mhm.
Um, why is that the starter point for you, or why was that a sticking point for you of middle school?
So middle school was a sticking point. So I have a background in early childhood education as well, right? So I do think it starts earlier, but I think for me, being able to go, and I feel like middle school is that transition period where you go from like all of the nurturing and the hand holding to now kind of stepping into your own autonomy and the ways in which you view the world. And so middle school for me is a very great starting point, because it's like they get to balance between what they already know and what they need to know to move forward. And again, I think that is such a beautiful thing when you can witness a group of fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth graders tap into their emotions and to hold space for each other, to allow tears to drop, to have a safe space to be like, okay, I can let this out right now. I don't have to shove these tears back in. And then they can process it afterwards. They can identify what they were feeling. And if they don't have the language or the words to attach to it, then that's where I come in. And, it's kind of like, as therapists, we always talk about the toolboxes, but it's like, we're going to give them the tools that they need to carry with them so that when they're out in the community and certain things arise, or when they're at home with their family and issues come up, that they know how to be proactive in not only protecting their peace, but also being able to vocalize and articulate how a situation made them feel. And so I feel like if they can master that in eighth grade, it's something that will constantly resonate with them through life. Or not eighth grade, but in middle school, if they can, master it in middle school.
Yeah. Good. So I have a question. Why is it so hard for us to have, and when I say us, Black men, black women. Why is it so hard for us to have honest conversations about what we need emotionally in relationships without it turning into blame or an argument? Yeah, and I want to hear that. I want to hear your answer as well.
Run that one more time.
From a man's perspective. Why is it so hard for us to have honest conversations about what it is that we need emotionally in our relationships without it turning into blame or an argument? Because we get defensive.
Yeah, we do. I think that because, well, it's not the sole reason, but I think that for us, number one, sometimes it has a lot to do with how we were raised. It has a lot to do with the environments that we're in, what we consume on a day-to-day basis. I think that if we keep it out of the comments, like you look at the comment section on some of the social media stuff, horrible. Like there's no conflict resolution in there. There's nothing. Like we're taught to like attack each other, right? In the first 30 seconds of a conversation, how you talk to me is always going to potentially fuel how I respond, right? There's a lot of you statements, no I statements, right? So like sometimes I'm a big fan of setting the stage. If it has to be a conversation that we need to have, I'm a big fan of you setting the stage so I know what this conversation is going to be about, so I can settle in. Now we're gonna talk, right? But I will always say, like I think for our community, we have a huge issue in being taught what conflict resolution looks like, right? Because I would tend to say like we're more defensive than we are able to just sit back and resolve. And sometimes we're taught that later, once we've went through so many different experiences in life, what conflict resolution actually looks like. And again, it's taking it out of the relationships, right? Like just with our kids, right? We were taught to be seen and not heard, right? So think about what that looks like when I grow up, and I want to tell my mom or my brother or somebody something. I got to go through so many mental gymnastics to even approach you. I'm fearful of even telling you how I feel. So if that's not checked, if that conversation is not nurtured, or that person is not, that's why I agree when we talk about the middle school. We have to teach our children. We have to teach each other how to receive and have dialogue, because we just really don't know. We approach it based off of either past experience, how we were raised, how we were taught. And you also have to be in a position to be ready to receive information, right? Like not everybody's ready to receive information.
Okay, so I'm gonna come back and make a comment on that one, on what you said. Ladies, I want to hear from you. What is your thoughts about that? Melody, we'll start with you.
I think Corey was on it as far as sometimes it's about how you're raised. So I was raised in a very Southern religious household. And, I think that with that being said, women really, their opinion didn't matter a whole lot more than, the males in the family. And so sometimes as an adult, it can trigger if you're not feeling heard, and when your emotions outweigh your intellect, right, then you're not really thinking properly how to effectively communicate. You kind of drive and let your emotions drive you. And that's like a recipe for disaster, I think, but it also determines when you are addressing the concern, the issue. I think sometimes if it's just in the heat of the argument, then it's definitely not going to come across the way you're kind of looking for. But I think it does. I think it has a lot to do with the way you're raised. I think that accountability, sometimes people feel like they're being accused. I think sometimes the conflict resolution piece of not listening to fully comprehend, fully understand, but really kind of listening to just respond. And then it just, in relationships in general, the events leading up, there could be so many events that have already led up to a major blow up or this conversation before it actually occurred, where the other individual doesn't want to hear you out anyway. I just think there's so many different variables. It's kind of hard to break down why one thing,
Okay. Ebony?
I was going to say, so I've always been the person in my family that has gone against the grain. So I've always been vocal, even when me being vocal got me in trouble, got me popped, got me punished, whatever the case may be. But I've always been one to kind of express what I was thinking and what I was feeling. And so I try to model that for like the families that I work with. I try to encourage that. I do a lot of role play with that, because it's one of the things that I kind of say all the time is you have to check it before it checks you, right? And so as not to allow things to build up as much as address it head on, go to the source, right? And everybody won't be in the position to receive, but understand that you have the power and the wherewithal to stop it at any time. Like, you can excuse yourself. You can say that was not my intention, or you can say, well, I'm just letting you know that this is how this thing made me feel, right? And so really tapping into the ability to be able to communicate effectively and understanding that just because you feel a way about something, right, it doesn't mean that it's a fact. And so the other thing that I really stand on is checking the emotions and sticking to the facts, because if I'm sticking to the facts, it's not emotional for me, right? I might feel something internally, but what I'm saying is nothing but the facts, right? And we can't deviate away from that. And one thing we all know is that the truth hurts, and it is difficult for people to kind of stand in the truth of what somebody is sharing with them. But I think it takes practice. I don't think that it's anything that happens overnight, because as both of you guys stated, like, historically, we've been cultivated to be seen and to not be heard, and to, you know, be quiet before you upset somebody, or what happens in this house stays in this house, right? But you get to a point in life where you're like, I need to free myself from some things, and everybody's healing journey is not parallel, and that part is okay, you know, and giving yourself permission to heal at the pace or the rate that you need to, and not really subjecting yourself to healing at the rate of what somebody's ready to receive.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. When I ask this question, right, in my mind, and I know you guys don't know what I'm thinking, but this is something that I've actually experienced before. And there was no conflict. There was no argument ahead of time. There was nothing leading up to it. It was just a conversation, just having a conversation. And I think what happens is, sometimes in relationship, we get so comfortable with our partners that we automatically assume that we know them, and we know exactly what they need, and we know what they need emotionally, and that we have it all together when it comes down to knowing our partners. And that's just not true, because we're constantly changing and we're constantly evolving, which we should be, right? So my 20-year-old, I can't even get it out, 20-year-old self is not the same at 53. I'm different, and what I required emotionally at 20 or 25, I may not require that at 53, right? So if I'm saying to my partner or my spouse, you know, hey, you know, I'm feeling like, and I'm saying it in a manner where saying, you know, this is my feelings. I'm not saying that this is something that you're intentionally doing, right? What I find is that even though with sharing that information, the person that you're sharing it with automatically feels that they're doing something wrong. And although you're not coming to them in an accusatory way, you're just saying, this is what I'm feeling. I'm not saying that you're causing this, but this is just my feeling, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing and what I'm noticing is, even in therapy, is that people have a hard time having conversations if they feel there's some needs being unmet.
For sure. Yeah.
Right? And then it does turn into blame, or it does turn into an argument. So something that started off so simple as an intimate conversation, now you're mad because I shared with you that I'm feeling a certain type of way. And I'm only sharing this with you because I want us to fix it. I want us to work together to fix it. Right? And when that doesn't happen, in my opinion, I feel like that causes other doors to open. because you've come to your spouse, you've talked to them, you're saying, hey, something's off, and you're not receiving that information because now you're feeling like, okay, I'm doing something wrong. So if I'm doing something wrong, then that means your needs are unmet, right? So it just goes left.
Fair enough. So I've been guilty of that, right? And it's not that I've been mad about it, but if you tell me you're feeling a certain way, as a man, it's my job to fix how you feel. I'm not mad at you. I'm in conflict with myself. Because how do I get to the other side of making you feel better? That's my job, to make sure that you're okay. Because here's the thing. I've been going however long, right? Like, I've been going all week. I've been going all month, feeling like I'm doing everything right. Right? And that, when I say everything right, that sounds extreme, but everything's okay, right? As men, we're very basic. We're not like super complicated at all. Like, you good, you cooked dinner, you laughed, joked, yeah, you went to bed, but the world ain't ending. Like, we're good. And then you sit us down and say, listen, this is how I'm feeling. My brain is wired to say, how did I miss that? What did I do to make her feel like that? How do I fix it? I'm already to the how do I fix it state. And what did I do? I'm not even hearing the rest of what you said.
Okay.
Right? So,
yeah.
Because of that reason, I'm in conflict. Not with you necessarily, with myself. Now, if you have felt this way since February and it's September and I don't know about it, now I'm in conflict with you too, right? But my goal is to make you feel better, make you feel okay, make you feel safe. And that's on top of whatever other responsibilities I feel like I have, because we also come to the table with a responsibility that we feel that we have, right? You may not even give me that responsibility list, but I've been taught that I'm supposed to provide, protect, and do all of these things. And you telling me that you feel X, I done lost something. I'm not doing that.
So pause for a second. So ladies, you heard what Corey said, but at some point he said, at that point, I stopped hearing everything else that you said, because in my mind, now I'm in conflict with myself. And I think that's where that's when things start to go left. All right. So what is your thoughts on that? Because that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, because my first question was, like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Right? But that's
exactly
not like,
happened,
that's not me fighting you. I'm like,
yeah,
my brain is
you
like, what is she talking
everything
about?
else I said.
What are you talking
like,
about?
You
Say,
stop
what are you
hearing
talking
everything
about?
else I said.
Right? Like, I went to this whole what?
So
I was going to say, I think it's important to seek clarity, right? Because as women, we can say things and it can be blanketed, right? And I think for men, it is important to listen, Corey. But I think like just seeking clarity, like, well, what do you mean by that? And I always tell women, because sometimes they'll come into the office and they'll say things like, oh, I've been feeling this way, or it's not enough. And I'm like, well, what is it that you want from him? What do you need him to do? And they'll be like, I don't know. Well, that's not fair to him, So I think like being able to be explicit in your needs, explicit in your thoughts and your feelings, right? Because that's the only way to gain understanding. And then for the receiving party, if you're uncertain, like to seek that clarification, like, okay, well, what do you mean by that? Or how can I fix it, right? And asking them in that way. And I think that can close the gap of, that disconnect with regards to immediately going into fix it mode. And understanding that men and women are wired differently, but I think we have to be intentional about, how do we find some common ground here?
Yeah, I agree.
I agree 100%. Like I echo everything that Ebony said. I think when I've seen couples, I have oftentimes actually asked them to stop and just repeat what the other person just said. Because, and it's amazing how many times they actually don't repeat what the person just said, because sometimes they check out and the males are already at fix it mode. They're already like, I just tell me what you want me to do so I can follow steps 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we can get this done. Whereas sometimes the women are just like, I want to be heard though. I mean, I need you to understand, or I'm still trying to figure it out where we went wrong. But I think it is the comprehension part, the clarification. I think it is the fully listening. And like Ebony said, knowing what it is that you're asking for when you come and actually sit down. And knowing your partner enough to know, all right, I can't just go to fix it, because that's not going to be sufficient. I have to, there's steps in between there I have to take before we can get to fix it. You know?
Yeah, I agree. It's perfect. I agree. And I think that there's, if you jump to fix it, I would imagine that at some point, or maybe not all times, but that's where resentment starts to seep, right? Because the resentment starts to seep in because I'm jumping to fix it. I didn't hear half of what you said. Now you on my nerves because I don't know how to fix it. You probably didn't tell me how to fix it, right? And this is probably I probably had a hue of you talking about this before, trash, whatever it is. I'm not saying whatever it is, right? And then God forbid it's something that is not detrimental to my ego. What do you mean you ain't sexually satisfied? Are you what? Right? What do you mean?
What if I'm not?
But that's fair to say. Yeah. But I think that we have to do the corny thing. And I say the corny thing because we talk about all of these tools. I'd imagine you walk out of therapy, you have these tools, you have this book, you have this website, you hear what you said, but we don't necessarily always go home and apply that because we see it like it's too much work. Setting the stage, giving space for your relationship to breathe. And you have to have the ability to say, well, listen, I don't know if I can meet that need. Nor do I want to. Because that's where there's a such thing as healthy conflict. It doesn't have to be back and forth, right? You have to be able to say to me, this is how I'm feeling. And I have to be able to say, I don't know how to fix that. I don't even know how to do that. But you
know what? So, and it wasn't a particular topic, but since you brought up sexual needs,
I wasn't even going. Because that's where the ego hits with men. We're like, what?
Sexual needs up. I think that's where I would like to talk more about that in regards to that example that we just gave, right? Because I think that is where the problem comes. It depends on what it is that I'm saying. If I come to you and say, you know what, you're not helping around the house and I'm feeling unheard or whatever. Okay, you're not going to take your ego's not going to jump in there if I'm saying I'm not sexually fulfilled. Now, that's when the problem is going to be, right? But you know what, guys? Unfortunately, we're not going to get to be able to finish this.
That was a crazy clip. That was crazy. Okay.
On this episode. But what I would
you already
like
fixing
for you
it.
To do,
I'm already upset.
What I would like for you to do is make sure you tune in to the next episode of Ask the Therapist. We're going to have these ladies back and we're going to continue this conversation. So if you feel that this is spicy, then I hope to see you back. So ladies, thank you so much for the conversation. And we are definitely going to continue this. Corey? You good?
I'm straight.
Okay. All right. All right, guys. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like, share. If you like tonight's episode, you definitely want to tune in. But before we go, we have some news coming up. We have some things going on, and we want you to be a part of it. And as always, thank you for spending your time with Rebirth Podcast. Until next week, have a blessed night. Excited to announce the Rebirth Meetup is coming in October 25th from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. Come out and hang out with like-minded people, networking, turning conversations into connection. Music is being provided by DJ Just Juan. And also we have a live performance by Corey Dane. Make sure you go to rebirthu.com today and secure your ticket. I hope to see you there. Hello, I'm Shay from Rebirth U LLC. Did you know that research shows that the average person makes 35,000 decisions every single day? No wonder by the end of the day you feel mentally drained. I know sometimes I do. That's called decision fatigue. It's when your brain gets so overloaded from too many choices, big or small. So some of the signs that you might be dealing with is struggling to make even simple choices like what to eat or what to wear. Feeling mentally exhausted by the end of your day. Perhaps you're procrastinating or avoiding decisions altogether. Or you could be defaulting to choices you later regret just to get it over with. The good news is you don't have to stay stuck in that cycle. Join me October 2nd at 7 p.m. where I'll be sharing practical strategies to help you combat decision fatigue and regain your mental energy. Go to rebirthyou.com to register now. I'll meet you there.